What's up, guys? So a question I get asked all the time is, how do welders make money? So in this video, I'm gonna break down the 6 ways I, as a welder, pay my bills. Alright guys, so one of the ways I make money as a welder is with a mobile welding truck. This is my 2002 Ford F250 and it has the Triton V10 in it. It's not a diesel. Most of my stuff, like I've had a few overnight jobs. I think the longest I've ever been gone is 3 days. I do pull materials around with me a lot, along as all my equipment. But I've never really ran into a situation where I felt I needed a diesel truck. It's to each their own, really. But how I made money, and I started with mobile welding, how I made money mobile welding, you got a bunch of different types of jobs. If you see me looking over, I got some notes because I want this to be a good video. Welding on different jobs and different materials, whether it be structural, pipe, TIG welding, MIG welding, aluminum, any of these things. Mobile welding comes into play when it's a project that they either don't have the time or the resources to bring to you. For a good example is I'll go out and I will repair boilers. Sometimes they're either stick welded or TIG welded. But obviously they're not, their boiler springs a leak. They're not gonna shut down the unit, unhook it, pay someone to transport it over to me for me to repair it. Repairs on those, in my experience, generally take anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. Because a lot of it depends on how much I gotta clean it, how much I have to, if I have to cut out material, if I have to find the leaks, stuff like that, and set up and tear down. So it would cost them actually way more to have, someone paid for me to bring it out and then me to fix it, whereas I could just charge a little bit more money, come right to them, bring all my own tools, fix it on the spot. All they have to do is call me. So another big thing I do is heavy equipment. Same thing. Say you have a big bulldozer or an excavator or a skid steer, any of these pieces of equipment that you're hauling to and from jobs all the time. If something breaks, again, you have to either pay someone or one of your employees to haul it out to me, unload it, drive back, do something else for the rest of the day while I fix it, and then they have to come pick it up, and so forth and so on. So the best thing I can do is have all my tools and equipment with me, drive out to them, and fix it there on the spot. And a good example of that is I work with some smaller companies who they have the big excavators and all of this stuff, but they don't have the semis and the low boys it takes to move them, because they don't move them that often. They probably park them mostly out at their pit and work them there, and then they pay one of the much larger companies in the area a few $100s to move it anytime they do have a job for it. So for me to be able to just come out, I think the last time I had to fix an excavator boom, the guy got quoted $1,200 just to bring it to a different welding shop and back because the guy wasn't mobile. Then he found me, I'm mobile, so he was already looking at paying $1,200 right there, plus the cost to repair it, which was another few $1,000s. So I could come in and I could charge an extra $1,000 just because I can drive over there and back, and it saves him a little bit of money, and it also charges me a premium, because the only difference I do between the guy who isn't a mobile welder is I just have paid for equipment sitting on a truck and literally drove 30 minutes round trip to fix his equipment. So the other big thing I do is handrails. any job, handrail signs, anything like that where you have to install it, whether you need a power source or what, like fencing. We have a lot of dairy farms around here, so they're constantly needing like fence and gates and all that kind of stuff built. And I can fab a gate up here, but if they have metal posts and they want their hinges welded in, I can drive right out there, weld the hinges in for them, and it is complete, ready to go. So same thing with handrails. I can build handrails here if I have a print, but same thing, to go out, and a lot of times it's just hauling them on a truck, bringing a couple hammer drills and sinking some lags into concrete. But if I'm on the job and something doesn't fit right, I always bring my little miller, or it's not a miller, it's a Hobart MIG welder, and I can, you know, tweak things there, fix them if something breaks, or maybe I got to connect handrails to different handrails, or maybe I'm just repairing handrails. So that is another good way. The final thing I want to talk to you about as far as mobile welding goes is contracting or maintenance. There's a lot of farms around here, shops around here, machine shops, all this kind of stuff. Some of them will have their own welders, some of them won't. So one thing I do as mobile welder, for example, farms, they might have a maintenance guy, but he's really good at turning wrench but not really good at welding. So they can hire me, I can come out there and I can fix cracks, pretty much do like preventative maintenance kind of stuff, fixing cracks, welding hitches back on, anything like that. I do want to get into line boring, but saving up money for the machine. And then contracting, like machine shops, maybe every once in a while they'll need parts resurfaced or a little hole filled that, you know, someone drilled improper and it's expensive material, so they don't want to just waste it. Sometimes I'll take a TIG welder out there and do it there. They kind of seem to preference that almost sometimes. I don't know if it's they want to see how I do it or they want to make sure it's done right, but as that relationship grows, a lot of times I'll get guys who just bring a box out to me and say, hey, here are all the spots, these need repaired, and have at it. So those are just a few of the ways I can get by making money mobile welding. That keeps me busy. It used to be all I did. Now it's about 70% of what I do still. My longtime viewers will know my wife and I just bought this house not too long ago, and the inside needed a lot of work. A lot of updating, we've done that, and, you know, working on the garage and all that kind of stuff. So that is how I make money, a little bit of how I make money as a mobile welder. We could go into this video again with just tons more detail, and maybe someday we will. So anyways, guys, that's how I pay my bills mobile welding. Let's get to the next one. Let's go. Alright guys, so the next way I make money as a welder is fabricating. Most of the fabrication I do is from my home shop. As you can see, we'll give you a little pan around. It's not extremely big. It's a 20 by 20, but you see I've got a big table. Let's zoom in here. We've got a big 5 by 10 table, MIG welder and a TIG welder, a new CNC machine, some tools, just kind of packed into the corner, and a little lathe. We'll get into more of that later, and I'll throw some pictures down in here, or try to put pictures in here so you can see some of our more custom projects. Out of this garage, I do a lot of handrails, production runs, fixing parts, and just custom fabricating. Like, a good example is one of the guys I do work for, he owns a series of Airbnbs down in the city, and they're all, not all of them, but the ones I do work for have a theme, like a Star Wars theme or a Great Gatsby theme or a fire station theme. whatever. That is good, especially if you can get into a job shop where you can learn for a few years on different things. But it's a good source of revenue for money for me. Like I said in the last clip, I used to be all mobile. Now I'm more so down to like 40% in the shop, 60%, maybe 30% in the shop, 70% on the road. I like it more because it's literally like 5 steps out of my house door. I can come in here, I can work, I can be productive, I don't have to waste commute time and things like that. And it also allows me to charge a little more mobile welding. For example, let's say someone has some equipment broke down and they want me to come out and weld it. Whereas it used to be, I was mobile welding all the time, so I didn't really factor all the time I was losing driving to all these jobs. I was charging for it, but I wasn't charging the premium rate I get for working out of my shop. Now that I am, it's wildly increased my production or my cash flow because, you know, if it's an hour commute one way, that's a 2-hour round trip. I'm missing out on a couple $100 worth of things I could have been doing at my shop, not to mention wear and tear on my vehicle. So I charge a $250 minimum rate for mobile welding. Gosh, got a tickle in my throat. Because it's time I'm not spending in my shop. So when you want to get into shop welding, like I said, talk to machine shops, talk to put ads out there just for like everyday different things, and people bring you stuff. I have guys all the time, hey, if I drop my deer hunting stand, if the ladder rack broke or whatever, can you fix it? I've got a drop off point, people can drop things off, mail them in, whatever they want to do. I can fix them at, you know, kind of my leisure as long as I'm meeting their deadline. And it's just like a great source. Back when I was all mobile welding, there were so many times I was just wasting time driving, you know, an hour to this job, 40 minutes to that job, and half of my day would be lost just in the truck driving, burning fuel. And now I can come out here and have a full day and make, you've seen some of my other videos, make over $1,000 a day just in this little garage, turning out parts or doing just repair after repair after repair. And it also gives me a cool place to make videos for you guys. So the second thing I do to make money as a welder is fabricating. Custom fabricating, handrails, all this kind of stuff. So now let's get into the next portion, which is products. I have them wrote down different in my notes, but I want to do products. So for example, products that I make to sell are like ramps, trailer ramps. Around here we've got the sand dunes. People are, and miles upon miles of trails, people are hauling in quads and side-by-sides and Jeeps and Broncos and pickups, all this stuff. And so many trailer manufacturers now have moved to the ramps that slide into the holder. And hundreds of times a year I get guys who the ramps have been stolen, they've lost them, they've forgotten them at home, all these things. And being centrally located around all this stuff, I'll get a guy who, you know, is coming up from Ohio to go to the sand dunes and he forgot his ramps. He doesn't want to turn around and waste all day going back to Ohio, or maybe they got stolen at a gas station, whatever. He can call me. I don't actually have any sets now. Steel just got delivered in the steel rack. I'm going to cut up. I'm going to try and start keeping about 5 sets of ramps. I have 2 different kinds I make on stock at all time. Same thing, heavy equipment guys. When they're just getting started, maybe they buy a used trailer and it doesn't come with a set of ramps. I can provide those. So I sell a lot of those. Fork extensions, same thing, to new companies who've got to move, you know, 8-foot pallets, but they only have 4-foot forks. things of that nature. I sell those. The other thing is we've got a CNC table now. It's almost set up. We're going to be able to start selling signs and brackets and all of that kind of thing. And the other thing is you could even, as a welder, start an online store. I don't necessarily do this so much, but it's something we're looking forward to, or at least doing YouTube affiliated links with Amazon as to where are some of the tools I buy so that you guys can use them too. But that's just selling products is a way, for me, it was filling my gaps. So when I first got into a shop, I didn't have 20 hours of shop work lined up a week. I had to go find it. I make an ad, like with trailer ramps. I make an ad and I sell them on Marketplace. And in that ad, I do a little description of what I do. And I get custom ramps all the time. Can you mount them on our trailer? Can you beef up the ones we have? Guys who load narrow front tractors, they just want to buy one extra ramp, but everywhere else sells them in twos. So all that kind of stuff. And for me, it's a great way, if you have a slow day, nothing to do, you can buy materials, make 5 of them, and sit them in the corner of your shop, or if you got a shed or somewhere you can store them. And like I said, people call me or text me, hey, I need a set of ramps. All I have to do is collect the money. Yeah, I'm here, come pick them up. They bring me the money, and I just hand them out the door because I've already got them made. So that is another big way I increase my cash flow making money as a mobile welder. The next thing, and it's kind of tears off that, is production welding. My ramps have gotten to a point where it's production. I gotta make like 5 or 10 sets a week. But I also, like, I go to all these companies who my initial investment was trying to get on with them doing maintenance work. You know, hey, I don't know, I know you have a maintenance guy, I don't know if they weld, here's my number, feel free to reach me, I can come right out to you with my mobile truck. Well, how that transforms as you build that relationship is guys go, hey, do you make any parts? And I'll show you this here. Oop, I got it covered with stuff. I don't use this, I mean it's paid for already, but I don't use it a lot. Is this machine right here. It's just 3/16 tube with a 12-ton Pittsburgh jack, and it just goes into a different series of like dies and stuff. Just throw up some stops. I press parts out with this thing. Press parts out with it. You know, they need guards made, or you know, whatever a company might need, brackets, anything that maybe they used to outsource, but now they want to just funnel everything in with one person. It is a great way to boost your income and expand your horizons. So doing production runs. I don't, you get back in focus. I don't do a lot of production runs, but I do quite a few, enough to where it pays for the equipment. I want to get into more production runs. We're probably going to look for storefronts to sell ramps at, just someplace that, you know, they can call once a month, once bi-weekly, however often they sell them, and sell our stuff. And same thing we're going to do with signs. We're going to open a online store, and we're going to have just our best-selling signs up for sale, and then along with that, we're going to do custom signs where maybe there's a template and you can pick the text or anything like that. Another thing I'm going to start doing, and this will actually fall into probably my last portion of my last section of this video, the last way I make money, because I don't actually make money doing it yet, but we'll get into that. But the last thing I want to do is on the CNC table, I want to do weld it yourself kits, so that all of you guys who watch the videos and you want to challenge yourself as a welder, I can cut out some complex welding pieces, whether they link together or you got to build something, maybe, I don't know, but we're going to do that. And back to my products, I'm going to start when the CNC's up is cutting out little fixture tables and making them to where I can sell them, load them onto a truck, and ship them out. That's our goal. So production stuffs, we're looking to gain more. The next thing, the second to last thing I want to talk about, I'm sure you guys have noticed they all kind of tie in together, is expanding on equipment. So you're not going to get, if all you have is a MIG welder and a grinder, there's going to be a lot of jobs you don't get because a lot of guys can go down to Harbor Freight, or at least this is their mentality. They can go down to Harbor Freight, they took a class in high school, whatever, they know the basics of welding. They can get a hood, a welder, and a grinder and do a lot of their own work. And that's okay, because that's not like super high paying stuff. It's fine if you need to do that to fill your time and pay your bills, but you want to get into bigger, better equipment to where the average Joe isn't going to be able to afford it. It take forever for them to pay for it, whatever. You want to get into that so that they have to call you. Maybe you're the only one in your area who has a lathe or a CNC table or a Bridgeport or whatever these are. You'll have uses for them, or a big press, or a big fab table, or a mobile welding truck. That's another big one. Like I said earlier with the boilers, or the heavy equipment, being able to provide that extra service where you can drive it out there and take care of somebody versus not being super broad on the things you can do. Okay, so for an example, I started out, my very first thing I bought was this Lincoln TIG Square Wave 200. Went to machine shops, talked to them about repairing jobs, bought a generator, put the generator in my truck, ran this as a stick welder off my truck for like a year while we were saving up money. Now this sits in here and it's just a full-time TIG welder. Then I bought this for all my little production runs. Then I built this table. Then I had more production runs, so I built this press to press out parts, hooks, anything. Then the next thing I bought was this little mini lathe. And I didn't buy this actually with the idea of I was going to use it a lot, but it does actually work quite well. So what I'll probably use it for is building accessories for fab tables, and then doing like little things like I've got some 1/2-inch brass in here right now. Probably turn this down. And I bought some sewing needles to cut the ends off of and place them in here to make scribes and stuff. Little things that I find handy that are kind of fun. I kind of bought this on a whim. I didn't have work for it, but I wanted to get into it. And it's actually a really good way to learn because it's the same fundamentals, but it's a much smaller machine. You can still get hurt on it, but probably not as bad as you could on a big 240 volt machine. So, but you can just see how you expand equipment over time. A big thing we bought, we used to have an abrasive saw, and then we bought this, I believe it's a 14-inch, yeah, it's a 14-inch Evolution chop saw. And I bought a circular saw. These were just to speed up the jobs I already had. So building ramps, you know, this thing cuts way faster and way cleaner, and way more accurate. So that's another thing. Speaking of expanding on equipment, this was a big purchase for us. The table itself and the plasma cutter wasn't so expensive, but I also had to buy a compressor, which is actually on the other side of this wall. We built a little shed, compressor room, all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, guys aren't going to just go out and buy presses or buy lathes or have a mobile welding truck or buy a CNC table for the little one-off jobs they have to do. And you might get them guys back in the door by being able to do it more efficiently or more accurately than they can do it. So expanding equipment, reinvesting in your business is a huge way to upgrade how you make money as a welder. And as you expand equipment, like I showed you a lathe, that's not really welding, that's machining. But if you can learn these avenues, doing maintenance for other companies, running production for other companies, it's just going to make you better as a whole. So don't be afraid to do those kind of things. And the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is teaching. Depending on where your skill set is, like if you have a structural steel certification and 5 years experience, let's say, or even 2 years experience, you could probably teach a class. You'd have to figure out how much you have to charge, but teach a class on how to stick weld, cover the basics of the machine, striking an arc, and all your different positions and different rods. Same thing with if you have a lathe, you could teach people how to use a lathe or TIG weld or run a CNC. Like I said, with how they all tie in together is I want to expand products. Doing weld-it-yourself kits, where my plan this winter is to make different welding courses, and if you're trying to learn for yourself, you could buy some affordable pieces that could challenge you in TIG welding or stick welding or MIG welding or whatever any of these things pan out to be. But it's a great avenue to fill the downtime, and it's also a great avenue to get your name out there. Like, say I have someone come and, like my nephew wants to be a welder, so once every summer he comes out here, spends a week, we go over welding. He's MIG welded, TIG welded, stick welded. This year when he comes back, he's going to have new machines to run, all that kind of thing. If you're wondering why he only comes once a year, I'm in Michigan, he's in Florida. But his mom sends him up, they do a little vacation, we weld in the morning, we go have fun at night. But if he were in my area or even down there and he's off doing jobs now and he runs into something where he isn't quite confident or sure of how to do it, he can call me. And how I got that job was knowing him and teaching him. And a lot of people don't want to do that because they think, oh, well, if I start teaching a bunch of people how to weld, I'm going to have more and more and more competition in welding. And like, I saw this crazy stat the other day. The AWS put out a thing that we're like, was it 500,000 welders behind schedule? That's why everyone's pushing machines. I think it was 500,000. Could be 50,000. Could be 5 million. Anyways, it's a lot. It's more people than I know, and it's way more welders than I know. Teaching a handful of young guys your trades and your skills isn't gonna hurt you in terms of your business. It's actually gonna help you grow. Because they can go out, they can bid different jobs. Maybe I teach him and I'm really busy in my shop and all of a sudden I have a slow week and I call him and see what he's doing and he's got a giant handrail job in the city and he needs help. I can load up my tools. I know how to do it. He knows I know how to do it because I taught him or her, and we can go down and take care of business. So teaching is another great avenue to make money as a mobile welder. And as you guys know, or not even a mobile welder, excuse me, a welder. And as you guys know, welding can produce a 6-figure income, right? I do okay, and I only have a fraction of the experience and the equipment that some of these other guys have. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to get out in new avenues and new just go talk to people. That's what I tell everybody is, oh, how do you get jobs? Like, I will get 20 people probably a month. It's not quite every day, but it's probably 20 people a month wondering how I get jobs or how I get contracts or anything like that. And it's just going and talking to people. Living in a world of rejection sucks, but there is a bunch of it, all right? You're not going to get every job you bid. You're going to get laughed out of buildings. You're going to get the cold shoulder, all right? I had, I was just driving. I seen this big farm. I stopped. I talked to somebody, and the guy literally said, "Why are you wasting my time?" And then closed the door on me. It sucks. It hurts your feelings. You feel like you shouldn't be doing this. You're doing it wrong. It's discouraging. I'm trying to be encouraging. Just get out there and talk to somebody, because I can't tell you how many times I've walked into a machine shop or a business or something and said, "Hey, I'm Austin Anson. I can do mobile welding." Give them, all my accolades, and they go, "Well, I'm sorry, we don't have anything for you, or we don't do that, or whatever." And then 6 months or a year, or 18 months later, they call me and they say, "Hey, you stopped by a long time ago, and we were wondering if you could come out and do this for me, or our plans changed, or our maintenance guy has quit." This happens because it's so hard to find people now. Our maintenance guy has quit. We're trying to keep people on staff, but we can't hire anyone yet. Could we outsource to you until we can hire someone in here? Things happen. Another big thing is selling products. Sell steel, okay? I have a farm, actually a couple farms now, that they just come over, they call me, they need C-channel. If I don't have any in my drops rack outside, I will call it in. I get a semi-truck delivered to my house once a week, usually. Sometimes it's every other week, but usually once a week, and unload it, and then I'll just, if they order some 3-inch C-channel, I can either message them, say, "Hey, your C-channel's ready to pick up, come get it," or for an extra delivery fee, on top of the markup price, I can haul it out to them and unload it. I don't make great money. I'm not going to retire doing it. But it's like the tortoise and the hare. Do you want to be the person who gets a really big paying job and then doesn't get work for a couple weeks, and then gets another big paying job and then just doesn't get work for another couple weeks? It sounds nice, but you're always nervous about when that next big job's going to come in. Or do you want to be the guy who's making a few $100 on a few different jobs, and they just keep coming? They're steady coming in. They're steady coming in. They're steady coming in. And eventually what will happen is those big jobs, you'll filter them in, and then you'll start, okay, we're getting more jobs where our profit's $1,500, and they're coming in steady because we've been getting our name out there and we've been working. Now we're going to get rid of these jobs where we make nothing, where we make $100, where we make a couple $100. And pretty soon you're going to go to the next stage. Okay, now you're getting all these jobs, your profit's $1,500 on, but now you're getting every once in a while jobs that are $3,000, and then those get more and more common. So you start filtering them in, and you start, handing off this job that makes $1,500 to the guy you just trained. Or you hire the guy you just trained, you keep the jobs that you make $1,500 on, you put him on it, you pay him a good wage, now you make, whatever, 1,300 on them jobs, but they're still there. And that's how you go from a one-man shop to 10 different employees. All right, so I think that's pretty much all I have for this video. I feel like it was a pretty good one. Let me know in the comments section below if you liked it. Also, we're creeping up on 900 subscribers. Goal this year is 1,000, so that's looking good. If you like what you see here, I've got a ton of other videos you can check out. Please, please like this channel, subscribe to it, ring the notification bell so you know when I post new videos that help you in either your hobby or your business. I like helping people find passions and develop careers. So anyways, guys, remember, if you're not burning, you're not learning. I'll see you on the next video.